Hey everyone, this is First Warn Storm Team Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich. Want to give you an update on the potential winter storm that we're going to have for Friday night into Saturday. This is a very fascinating setup. We're going to start with what's going on right now. Obviously, we had one cold front come through already, and that has kind of cleared things out. Beautiful day. Temperatures will be in the mid-60s. But what we're watching is actually up here in Canada. It doesn't look like much right now. I'm going to turn all this stuff off. I'm going to show you what we're looking at. We're going to turn the model data on here. And this is where things get interesting. If you look up here in Canada, you see this little vorticity maximum, we call it, or short wave. There's a big trough in the atmosphere. It's dug out. You can see it here. That's a dip in the jet stream, or the 500 millibar levels. You see the trough. Well, this is going to drop down into this trough and deepen incredibly. And shockingly, as this, amazing as this seems, this is actually the remnant vorticity maximum from Hurricane Ana, which was in the Pacific. It came all the way across the Pacific and then moved across Canada and is now moving up in here. So this thing started way out in here, and now it's moved all the way to right there, and then it's going to drop into this trough this weekend, and then boom, we are going to see one hellacious storm. So watch as this drops down. I'm going to go into motion with the NAM model, which I think is actually doing a pretty good job of this now that we have this over North America. Look at that shortwave. That thing is getting stronger and stronger and stronger as it moves into the southeast. We'll zoom in here and kind of show you. Here it is over Chicago. And again, the time frame we're looking at here, this is a Halloween night or evening, so it's not going to be a big player, at least for the trick-or-treaters. As we go towards 8 p.m. Friday night, it's over Ohio and Indiana. Then it drops down here into Kentucky and Tennessee. And then look at this thing carve out this big, big upper level low right over South Carolina. Now, this is much deeper and more south than some of the other guidance, but it's kind of in line with the GFS model. And then look at this thing crank up, and then it pushes to the coast, and this is where it starts to bomb out and become a pretty significant nor'easter, and then it moves up the coast. So what is that going to mean? Well, let's turn off that, and we'll go back to precipitation type. You can see there's going to be a ton of snow associated with this on the back side, but here's the thing. We could see some snow even make it east of the mountains. And the reason that's going to happen is this is extremely cold air aloft. I mean, the temperatures aloft are well below freezing, so this is where you get heavy precipitation. It actually drags the cold air down to the surface, something we call dynamic cooling, and it could bring snow even to the Charlotte region. Now, it's going to be a really wet snow. I don't expect accumulations, but you can see how this unfolds. So we'll back this up a little bit, and let's look at how much snow we're talking about. And so we'll go back to Halloween afternoon. We go into Halloween evening. This is after 8 o'clock. Snow moves into the mountains. You can see the totals there. I'm going to zoom in closer, and we'll kind of put this into motion. We're going towards Saturday morning at 8 a.m., and really Saturday morning during the day is when things crank up. Look at the heavy snow up here in the Watauga, Ashe, Avery County area. This would be about 6 inches of snow possible. That's why there's a winter storm watch up for those areas. And then we go into the afternoon hours, and you can see a little bit of snow may mix in east of the mountains. Notice there's not much accumulation east of the mountains. Doesn't mean it's not going to snow here, just means we're not expecting any significant accumulations. Now, the GFS model has gone just crazy with this. I'll show you the GFS model, which I should warn you is a much coarser resolution model. Look at the burst of snow it shows around the Charlotte area. This would be 1 to 2 inches. Now, to me, this is kind of trying to pick up on a deformation zone with the low on the coast, which is always hard to do. And then you can see how quickly that melts. But notice how different that is compared to the NAM, which doesn't have a whole lot of accumulation east of the mountains. So one of the things I like to look at, you probably have seen me show this before, these are what we call Schreff plumes. The GFS runs 22 variations, essentially, of its model. The highest one is up here, you know, around 3.5 inches. The lowest one is down around 0, but this black line is the mean. It's like taking the average. And that Schreff mean is about 0.8 of an inch, just below an inch. And this is for Charlotte. This is not for the mountains. This is for Charlotte. And if I look at the last 4 runs of this model, we'll look at the mean. You can see the last one is actually shot up to highest. It's actually been trending up. The last couple have been anywhere from a trace amount to 0.3 of an inch. This is measurable snow, and this would be the earliest measurable snow on record in Charlotte. We've got a trace on Halloween in 1887, I believe, but this will be the first measurable amount on November 1st, at least on record. When we look at the probabilities of snow, 1 inch, I've shown this a couple of times. I'll make this a little bit bigger. This is from the Hydrometeorological Prediction Center, which is now the Weather Prediction Center. You can see the 1 inch probabilities of snow, and this is Saturday morning, mostly in the mountains, so there's the 80% chance there. And then you start to see on Saturday afternoon, as it catches up, it actually has what amounts to a 5%, maybe 10% chance of 1 inch around Charlotte. That's small, but it's a chance. It's like we'd like to joke. And then up here in the Greensboro High Point area, you're talking about maybe a 10 to 20% chance. And this to me is the models trying to hint at some kind of deformation zone here east of mountain. But clearly the heaviest stuff's in the mountains, and that's where I think we're going to see the main action. The European model, by the way, has kind of backed off this a little bit. It still has a deep low. There it is, mostly snow in the mountains, rain across the Piedmont, and then look at the coastal low blow up. So when you look at the snowfall totals from the European model, they're really bullish on the mountain snow. You're talking maybe 8-10 inches of snow in the Smokies, with 2 to 4 in the northern mountains, and a little bit of snow trying to move down with the upper low, but it's not as aggressive. I really think this is primarily going to be a mountain event when you look at this, and I really think the NAM model has a really good handle on this as we go in closer. I think right along the Tennessee-North Carolina border, you're looking at a solid 2 to 4 inches with isolated amounts of 5 to 6, and I wouldn't be shocked if Mount LeConte gets 8 inches, and maybe Roan Mountain, Mount Rogers, Beech Mountain end up with 6 or 8 inches. So it's going to be freezing cold, it's going to be windy, it's going to be wet, and yes, we could see snowflakes across Charlotte. I don't expect major road issues, but this is an early season storm. Even by mountain standards, this is a pretty significant storm. Winter storm watches are up. Make sure you stay tuned to the First Warn Storm Team. I'll be on the air today, tonight, tomorrow. We'll keep things up to date. It's going to be a very active weekend. If you have plans Friday night into Saturday, prepare for winter-type weather. It's going to be cold and windy on top of all this, and should be an interesting system to watch. Stay tuned. Make sure you follow me on Facebook and Twitter as well. I'll keep those things update really 24/7. I'll see you today at 4 o'clock on NBC Charlotte.